The Law of One, Session 106, March 15, 1984.
Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, could you first please give me the condition of the instrument?
Ra, I am Ra. The parameters of this instrument are marginal, both physically and mental/emotionally. The vital energy of this entity is biased towards strength/weakness.
Questioner, by marginal, do you mean that? Well, let me put it this way. What would the instrument do to make the marginal condition much better?
Ra, I am Ra. The instrument is proceeding through a portion of the incarnational experience during which the potential for mortal distortion of the left renal system is great. Less important, but adding to the marginality of distortion towards viability, are severe allergic reactions and the energizing of this and other distortions towards weakness/strength. The mental/emotional complex is engaged in what may best be termed inappropriate compassion.
Questioner, would Ra please recommend the steps we should take to alleviate or reverse the conditions of which you just spoke?
Ra, I am Ra. We can do this. The renal distortions are subject to affirmations. The entity, at present, beginning what may be called initiation, is releasing toxins and, therefore, larger amounts of liquid to aid in the dilution of these toxins is helpful. The allergies are already being largely controlled by affirmation and the near-constant aid of the healer known as Bob. Further aid may be achieved by the relocation of dwelling and future vigilance against humidity exceeding the healthful amount in the atmosphere breathed. The mental/emotional distortions are somewhat less easily lessened. However, the questioner and instrument together shall find it possible to do such a working.
Questioner, how serious and critical is this renal problem? Is drinking liquids, I assume water is the best, the only thing we can do for that, or is there something else?
Ra, I am Ra. Note the interrelationship of mind and body complexes. This is one example of such interweaving of the design of catalyst in experience. The period of renal delicacy is serious, but only potentially. Should the instrument desire to leave this incarnational experience, the natural and non-energized opportunity to do so has been inbuilt just as the period during which the same entity did, in fact, leave the incarnational experience and then return by choice was inlaid. However, the desire to leave and be no more a portion of this particular experiential nexus can and has been energized. This is a point for the instrument to ponder and an appropriate point for the support group to be watchful in regards to care for the instrument. So are mind and body plaited up as the tresses of hair of a maiden. The nature of this entity is gay and sociable so that it is fed by those things we have mentioned previously, the varieties of experience with other selves in other locations and events being helpful, as well as the experience of worship and the singing, especially of sacred music. This entity chose to enter a worshipful situation with a martyr's role when first in this geographical location. Therefore, the feeding by worship has taken place only partially. Similarly, the musical activities, though enjoyable and therefore of a feeding nature, have not included the aspect of praise to the Creator. The instrument is in a state of relative hunger for those spiritual homes which it gave up when it felt a call to martyrdom and turned from the planned worship at the location you call the Cathedral of St. Philip. This too shall be healed gradually due to the proposed alteration in location of this group.
Questioner, then as I understand it, the best thing for us to do is advise the instrument to drink much more liquid. And I would imagine the spring water would be best. And we will, of course, move. We could move her out of here immediately, tomorrow, say, if necessary. Would this be considerably better than waiting 2 to 3 weeks for the allergies and everything else?
Ra, I am Ra. Such decisions are a matter for free will choice. Be aware of the strength of the group harmony.
Questioner, is there anything with respect to the present spiritual or metaphysical condition or physical condition of this address redacted house that we're contemplating that Ra could tell us about that would be deleterious to the instrument's health?
Ra, I am Ra. We may speak to this subject only to note that there are mechanical electrical devices which control humidity. The basement level is one location, the nature of which is much like that which you have experienced at the basement level of your previous domicile. Less humid conditions would remove the opportunity for the growth of those spores to which the instrument has sensitivity. The upper portions of the domicile are almost, in every case, at acceptable levels of humidity.
Questioner, how about the metaphysical quality of the house? Could Raha praise that, please?
Ra, I am Ra. This location is greatly distorted. We find an acceptable description of this location's quality to elude us without recourse to hackneyed words. Forgive our limitations of expression. The domicile and its rear aspect, especially, is blessed and angelic presences have been invoked for some of your time past.
Questioner, I'm not sure that I understand what Ra means by that. I'm not sure that I understand whether the place is metaphysically extremely good or extremely negative. Could Ra clear that up, please?
Ra, I am Ra. We intended to stress the metaphysical excellence of the proposed location. The emblements of such preparation may well be appreciated by this group.
Questioner, would the cleansing by salt and water then be necessary for this property? Or would it be recommended, shall I say?
Ra, I am Ra. There is the recommended metaphysical cleansing as in any relocation. No matter how fine the instrument, the tuning still is recommended between each concert or working.
Questioner, okay. And if the instrument stays out of the basement, do you think the humidity and physical conditions would be good for the instrument then, is that correct?
Ra, I am Ra. No.
Questioner, the humidity, we must do something about the humidity in the whole house then to make it good for the instrument. Is that correct?
Ra, I am Ra. Yes.
Questioner, I'm going to come back to a couple of points here, but I have to get in a question here about myself. It seemed to be critical at this point. Can rattle me what is physically wrong with me, and what's causing it, and what I could do to alleviate it.
Ra, I am Ra. The questioner is one also in the midst of further initiation. During this space/time the possibility for mental/emotional distortion approaching that which causes the entity to become dysfunctional is marked. Further, the yellow ray, chemical vehicle of the questioner is aging and has more difficulty in the absorption of needed minerals such as iron and other substances such as papain, potassium, and calcium. At the same time the body of yellow ray begins to have more difficulty eliminating trace elements such as aluminum. The energizing effect has occurred in the colon of the questioner and the distortions in that area are increasingly substantial. Lastly, there is a small area of infection in the mouth of the questioner which needs attention.
Questioner, could Ra recommend what I should do to improve my state of health?
Ra, I am Ra. We tread most close to the law of confusion in this instance but feel the appropriateness of speaking due to potentially fatal results to the instrument. We pause to give the questioner and the scribe a few moments of space/time to aid us by stepping away from those distortions which cause us to invoke the law of confusion. This would be helpful. A few moments pause. I am Ra. We appreciate your attempts. Even confusion on your behalves is helpful. The questioner has, in the recent past, allowed a complete transfer of mental/emotional pain from the questioner to the instrument. The key to this deleterious working was when the instrument said words to the effect of the meaning that it would be the questioner and be the strong one. The questioner could be as the instrument, small and foolish. The questioner, in full ignorance of the firm intent of the instrument and not grasping the possibility of any such energy transfer, agreed. These two entities have been as one for a timeless period and have manifested this in your space/time. Thusly, the deleterious working occurred. By agreement and care and caution it may be undone. We urge the attention to thanksgiving and harmony on the part of the questioner. We may affirm the previous recommendation in general of the skills and the purity of intention of the one known as Bob, and may note the sympathetic illness which has occurred due to the instrument's sensitivities. Lastly, we may note that to the one known as Peter several aspects of the distortions experienced by the questioner, the instrument, and the scribe may be quite apparent and rather simply traduced to lesser distortions.
Questioner: what is Peter's last name? I am not familiar with who he is.
Ra, I am Ra. The name by which this entity chooses to be known is Inman.
Questioner: would Ra recommend? Let me put it this way, would Ra think that surgery in my case would be of any help?
Ra, I am Ra. We assume you speak of the colonic indisposition and its potential aid by your chirurgeons. Is this correct?
Questioner: yes.
Ra, again, I am Ra. Please blow across the face and heart of the instrument. This was done as directed. I am Ra. We shall continue. The atmosphere has been meticulously prepared. However, there are those elements which cause difficulty to the instrument, the neurasthenia of the right side of the face being added to other arthritically energized pain flares. Such an operation would be of aid in the event that the entity chose this physical cleansing as an event which collaborated with changes in the mental/emotional, and physical orientations of the entity. Without the latter choice, the distortion would recur.
Questioner: now, summarizing what we can do for the instrument, through praise and thanksgiving and harmony we can. Is that all that we can do other than advising her to drink a considerable amount of liquid and moving her into a better atmosphere? Am I correct on that?
Ra, I am Ra. We examine the statement and find two items missing, one important relative to the other. The chief addition is the grasping of the entity's nature. The less important is, for little it may seem to be, perhaps helpful, that is, the entity absorbs much medication and finds it useful to feed itself when these substances are ingested. The substitution of substances such as fruit juice for the cookie is recommended, and, further, the ingestion of substances containing sucrose which are not liquid is not recommended within 4 hours before the sleeping period.
Questioner: my experience with dehumidifiers indicates to me that it will probably be impossible to lower the humidity in that house much with a dehumidifier, although we can try that, and probably if we do move in there, we'll have to move out very shortly. Is there anything further that need be done to complete the healing of Jim's kidney problem?
Ra, I am Ra. If it be realized that the condition shall linger in potential for some months after the surcease of all medication, then care will be taken and all will continue well. We may note that, for the purposes you intend, the location, address redacted, whether humid or arid, is uncharacteristically well suited. The aggravated present distortions of the instrument having abated due to lack of acute catalyst, the condition of the location about which the assumption was made is extremely beneficial.
Questioner: then the effect of the you were saying the effect of the humidity we will try to get it as low as possible, but you are saying the effect of the humidity is a relatively minor consideration when all the other beneficial factors are taken in with respect to the address redacted address. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. Yes.
Questioner, I am quite concerned about the instrument's health at this point and must ask if there is anything I failed to consider with respect to the health of the instrument. Anything at all that we could do for her to improve her condition other than that which has already been recommended?
Ra, I am Ra. All is most wholeheartedly oriented for support here. Perceive the group as here, a location in time/space. Within this true home, keep the light touch. Laugh together, and find joy in and with each other. All else is most fully accomplished or planned for accomplishment.
Questioner, is it as efficacious to cleanse the house with salt and water after we move in as it is to do it prior to we move in?
Ra, I am Ra. In this case it is not an urgent metaphysical concern as timing would be in a less benign and happy atmosphere. One notes the relative simplicity of accomplishing such prior to occupancy. This is unimportant except as regards the catalyst with which you wish to deal.
Questioner, can you tell me what the instrument's difficulty was with her last whirlpool?
Ra, I am Ra. The instrument took on the mental/emotional nature and distortion complex of the questioner as we have previously noted. The instrument has been taking the swirling waters at temperatures which are too hot and at rates of vibration which, when compounded by the heat of the swirling waters, bring about the state of light shock as you would call the distortion. The mind complex has inadequate oxygen in this distorted state and is weakened. In this state the instrument, having the questioner's distortion without the questioner's strength of the distortion one might liken to the wearing of armor, began to enter into an acute psychotic episode. When the state of shock was past the symptoms disappeared. The potential remains as the empathic identity has not been relinquished, and both the questioner and the instrument live as entities in a portion of the mental/emotional complex of the instrument. May we ask for one more full query at this working and remind the instrument that it is appropriate to reserve some small portion of energy before a working?
Questioner, I would just ask if there's anything we can do to help the instrument and make her more comfortable or improve the contact, and what would be the soonest Ra would recommend the next contact. And I would certainly appreciate the return of the Golden Hawk. It gave me great comfort.
Ra, I am Ra. You have complete freedom to schedule workings. We suggest the nature of all manifestation to be illusory and functional only insofar as the entity turns from shape and shadow to the One. I am Ra. We leave you, my friends, in the love and the glorious light of the One Infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the One Infinite Creator. Adonai.